So, what percentage of your income should go to your mortgage? Now, everyone has their own opinions, so do I. And I personally think it should no more than 25% of your gross income with a 20% down payment. Now, is that harder to do? Yes. Now, I don't care if you pick 5, 15, 30 year, or even if they come with 45-year um, loans. What I'm mainly concerned is, can a quarter of your paycheck pay for your mortgage? Because bills and fluctuation of your mortgage, insurance can all change. So, this is the main reason why. It is factoring your debt to income ratio, because it might be 25% going to your house mortgage and a 25% going to keeping your house going, because you need to eat, you need to pay electric bill, you need to pay gas bill, you need to pay for repairs, and that first 50% goes into your house. So that's one whole paycheck paying for your household need. That leaves the other 50% to pay for investment or paying off debt or anything else like that. So the reason why I picked 25%, because it's a quarter of your take home pay a month. Pretty simple, and it gives you room to breathe if something happens. Now, let's say you use the 28-36% rule and you end up on the higher 36%. But then the following year, the insurance goes up and hits 42%. And in the worst case, it goes up to 50%. That's horrible. But that happens to people. There's people in news articles that they miscalculate taxes. They miscalculate everything else because you don't know what's going to happen around you. It's the main reason why I stick to the 25% of your gross income. Now, do you get a luxury house? Yes, if you have a very high income. Common sense. But you stay within the means and gives you plenty of wiggle room. Now, you can listen to anyone else you want, but that's my opinion as a millionaire, right? On my properties, I put 20% down, so my interest rate will be the lowest you can get, and I avoid paying PMI. So those are the reason why I do those things. Now, the key takeaway that about this is you need to understand your mortgage payment. So the principal is of your loan is the original amount you borrow. So let's take this. For example, you borrow 200,000. That's the principal each month that your payment goes towards. But you have to pay interest on it. So when you take your mortgage, your lender will give you interest. So your mortgage interest rate will be calculated as the percentage of the loan. The higher the interest rate, the higher mortgage payment will be. Common sense. You have 3% or 6% interest rate, it will make a big deal because it could be $100, $200, $300 different on a lower income level, and that could knock you out and not be able to afford the electric bill that month. So another thing you have to understand your mortgage payment is the taxes. On top of the principal and interest, your taxes. You can't factor what your people around you is going to charge if the city's going to increase your tax rate. So you keep it at the 25% when you purchase your house. By end of the purchase and everything's done within the first year or two afterwards, you're probably going to be at the 30 percentile or 35 percentile, because that's what happened to almost all my properties. So I stayed within the boundary of it, and it worked out because now I'm not over leveraged. Now, if you buy a house at 50%, what's going to happen if it takes two paychecks to afford to buy that house or afford to pay the mortgage? You have any slip up, you might not be able to make that mortgage payment that month. So you have to be very careful about this. And you want to do the 20% because you don't want to pay PMI, because that doesn't do anything for you. It does everything for the lender. So the rule is for me, it's not to do more than 25%. Why? Because you have additional things you need to pay on your house. You have not just your mortgage payment, homeownership also involves some places HOA, some place maintenance fee, property tax, insurance. All this needs to be considered because it changes the factor of cost if you can afford the house. Your insurance can go up next year and you might not be able to afford the house. Your taxes could go up when you can't afford the house. So I'm not trying to scare people about buying a house, but I use this 25% rule because of those things. I bought over 6-7 houses and almost none of my mortgage payments stayed the same year over year. It goes up a little bit, it goes down a little bit. It all factor in different things. So like taxes, I can't do nothing about taxes in the area. Texas have high property taxes. So guess what? I can't get rid of that. So I don't know if it can go up or down. And I can fight it, but I have to pay or do paperwork for it. So let's go over this. The factor including mortgage affordability. There's a number of factors that plays into affording this. And the reason why I say 25% is income stability. Because if you only have to use 25% of your paycheck to afford it, you can probably easily get a side hustle or a part-time job to afford that 25% if you lose your job. And to get a loan, you need a stable work history of 2 years. And another thing that plays in effect is your debt to income ratio for your mortgage. So your debt to income ratio could be causing you issue for your higher mortgage payment due to interest rate. You might not qualify for the best interest rate, so you have to factor that in. And your credit matters, because later on you might have to get another car due to one breaking down. So you need room for emergencies for that in your budget. If you already hit 38%, you don't leave much room for a car payment. So you need to add in, hey, what happens if something happens? Now, the average interest rate right now for people is like 7%. It might drop down to 6%, might drop down to 5%. We don't know. But I know the bigger down payment you get, it's the lower interest rate you get. So make sure that down payment is, try to get that 20%. Now, my first house, I didn't put a down payment down. I got a VA loan, and luckily I got waived for a bunch of stuff, but I have the VA loan. So I kind of didn't know much about it, and it did hurt for a little bit not understanding mortgage. And this is why I did a 25% rule, because I was leveraged too high originally. But after a while, I got caught up and everything was good. Now, calculate your mortgage affordability. If you can do 15 or 10 year and keep it under 25%, great. That's what you should do, because home prices is how much you are planning on spending on your home. Down payment is how much you can save for your down payment. And it's hard to save for the money. I don't know how else to explain it. It's not easy. But if you have the willpower and you can budget it, you'll be fine. Because it's crazy. You pay as much as rent as you do for a mortgage. But you can't, no one will give you a mortgage because you're bad credit, or it makes no sense. Let's put it like that. I don't know how banks look at it and say, hey, you can afford $3,200 a month rent, but you can't afford a $2,000 a month mortgage. I don't understand that. But that's how banks work. So you have to try to work in their ballpark. So you need to learn, hey, they might not give me a 10-year. They might not give me a 15-year that's within my budget. So you do the 30-year. Now, if the house is too much for you, you need to downsize on your house, or how can I say, your home prices have to be lower. So you might not get a $500,000 house, your dream house. You might have to go to $300,000 to make it within the budget. But at least you don't end up house poor, because a lot of people end up house poor. And you had to consider beyond the mortgage payment. There's a lot of stuff that's beyond the mortgage payment, and this is why I picked the 25% rule. Number one is maintenance of the house. You know, you need to set aside between 1 to 4% of your home value each year to help with your house maintenance, because you might not do anything to your house for like 10 years and then you need a new roof. You know how expensive a roof is? Comment down below if you know how expensive. If not, I'll put it up on the screen. The average house roof costs. And then two, property taxes and insurance. Because property taxes and insurance will affect your mortgage rate. And you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know if it's going to go up or down. So that's a factor you don't control, but you want to leave room in your budget at 25% of your gross. You kind of have budget, because other people say 38% is a good number. But if you're at 25 and you go up, to 38 because property or insurance go up, you still be fine. But if you do a guideline of 38% and it goes up to the same amount, you be paying at 44, 46, 47% of your take home pay. You might not be able to afford the house anymore or pay the electric or water bill. And lifestyle and financial goals. What's the reason for you to buy the house? It's to be financially stable, right? Because the average person who owns a house have a net worth of 400,000 compared to a renter that's only 4,000. So if it's a life goal and you want to be financially stable, you want to keep it on the lower end. $1 million house, I'm gonna be honest with you. If you buy $1 million house and you buy a very big house and it's only you're not gonna utilize the whole space. So before you purchase a house, make sure you calculate what you're gonna use the house for. Because too big of a house, it's just pointless. You're just wasting electric and everything else. I know millionaires already that says, oh, I bought this $18 million house and I don't really use it. And they have a hard time selling it because it's $18 million. And you can use Michael Jordan. He finally sold his house and he had to sell it for way less. So you have to look at that stuff. Houses don't sell that fast sometimes because of the pricing. And you want to make sure you can afford your house and afford everything that comes with it. And you don't want to sit in your house worry about your monthly payment. Now, there's a lot of tools that can help you with it, with calculators and everything like that online that you can get for free to figure out if you can afford it. So you just have to think about it. Now, let's talk about some common mistakes that people do whenever they go get a mortgage. They borrow money for the down payment on top of their mortgage. That is something you don't want to do. Number two is avoid adjustable interest rate, because you don't ever know what the interest rate is going to do, and you want at least some things to be fixed so you can always know that, hey, I have at least these number fixed. You don't want adjustable interest rate on your mortgage, and your taxes are changing every year. Your homeowner insurance is changing every year. And then you don't know what other property or other taxes that come in the area, like a school. right? So you don't know what's going to happen. So you try to always get a fixed rate because you don't want to deal with that. And two, you don't want to pay PMI. PMI sucks. You don't. It's just $200-$300 you waste a month. Oh, it goes to nothing. It don't go to the principal. You're paying $200-$300 to a bank to let you borrow that money every month. That's how I think about it. You're paying an extra $200-$300 because you're at risk, and that's insurance if you fall through on your mortgage. So, hey, that's is my how much you need to make and why you want to stay at the 25% of your gross take home pay. Because all those factors can affect your living. And we're not even talking about other factors that can happen into your life, like getting married and having kids. That could affect your income every month, and kids are very expensive. You know what the average kid's cost is? I'll put it on the screen so you can see. But yeah, that's average kids cost. Like and subscribe to my video, and stay tuned for another video.